They broke you, didn't they? Not just your heart. They tried to crush your spirit. And the worst part, they did it like it was nothing. You trusted them. You loved them. You gave them parts of yourself you can't ever get back. And now you sit in silence, wrestling with the weight of pain only you understand. They moved on like you were just another page in their story. But you've been stuck, rereading the same chapter, asking why it ended this way. Let me tell you something from the depths of truth. The best revenge is not hatred. It's not shouting louder. It's not making them feel your pain. No, the best revenge to those who deeply hurt you is rising quietly, powerfully, without needing to explain a thing. Because when you heal, when you grow, when you walk in your purpose, that's the kind of revenge that echoes. That's the kind of revenge that shakes foundations. You don't need to get even, you just need to get better. You need to glow so brightly they have to squint to see the person they once tried to destroy. That's the revenge they never see coming, and the one they'll never forget. They won't see it coming. They think you're broken. They think you're finished. They think they silenced you. But what they don't understand is that healing doesn't always look loud. It's not always screaming from the rooftops or posting cryptic quotes on social media. Real healing happens in the quiet hours when you're alone with your thoughts, your tears, your truth. It happens when you pick yourself up off the floor, not because someone told you to, but because your soul refuses to stay down. That's the moment when the transformation begins. Not when you show them you're okay, but when you finally believe it yourself. And it's not for them. It's never for them. It's for the version of you that deserves peace. It's for the version of you that wants to live free from bitterness. That silent healing is sacred. You don't owe the world an update. You owe yourself the chance to rise without the noise. Because power born in silence becomes unshakable. It's not for the show, it's for the soul. And while they're busy looking for signs that you're still broken, you'll be busy building something they never saw coming. A new, unstoppable you. You start walking differently when you heal in silence, not with arrogance, but with certainty. The kind of certainty that says, I've walked through the fire and made it out, not because I'm lucky, but because I refuse to burn. See, when you go through that kind of pain, deep, soul-shaking pain, it changes you. But if you stay with it long enough, it strengthens you too. People think you disappeared. They think you gave up. But really, you stepped back to breathe, to grieve, to grow. You weren't hiding, you were recharging. While they were out there laughing, forgetting, pretending, you were working on your heart, on your mind, on your purpose. You were becoming someone that doesn't react, but responds. Someone that doesn't chase, but attracts. That doesn't break, but bends and bounces back stronger. It's not about proving anything to them. It's about proving everything to yourself. You don't need revenge through anger. You need redemption through evolution. Let your silence speak. Let your glow confuse them. They won't recognize this version of you, the version who rose in power from the ashes they thought you'd stay buried in. There's something sacred about crying in the dark when no one's watching, about whispering to yourself, I'll be okay, even when you don't fully believe it yet. That's where real strength is born. That's where healing breathes. You learn that not all battles are fought in front of others. Some of the hardest ones happen behind closed doors, in the silence of your room, where only your heart can hear the war. And when you choose to face that pain instead of running from it, you're not just surviving, you're rebuilding. You're choosing to keep walking when your legs feel like giving out. You're choosing to believe in light even when all you see is darkness. And that choice, that's powerful. Because it's not about pretending you're okay. It's about being honest enough to admit you're not, and brave enough to do the work anyway. Every quiet moment you spend loving yourself again is a strike against the version of you they tried to destroy. Every day you wake up and try again is a victory. Even if it doesn't look like one to the world, your soul knows better, and your soul is who you're rising for. People love to see your pain, especially the ones who caused it. They love to see you reacting, shouting, spiraling. It gives them power. It makes them feel like they still matter in your story. But the moment you choose silence, real silence, not the cold kind, but the kind that says, I'm done giving you energy. That's when you start to win. You reclaim everything they tried to take from you. Your peace, your dignity, your direction. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop trying to make them see what they did wrong and instead focus on healing what they broke, you take your power back. Let them wonder, let them gossip, let them sit in circles trying to guess how you're doing. Because you're working in silence. You're rebuilding what they did. When you finally show your face again, it won't be to prove anything. It'll be to walk fully in your purpose. Strong, silent, steady. They won't be ready for it. But that's the beauty of healing in silence. The power you gain can't be traced. It's internal, it's eternal, and it's untouchable. Some days healing feels like climbing a mountain with no summit in sight. You wake up heavy. You carry memories that don't feel fair. You remember the lies, the manipulation, the way they used your kindness like a weapon. And everything in you wants to scream, to break something, to demand justice. But instead you breathe. You let the tears come. You write, you pray, you rest. And slowly something inside you shifts. You start to understand that revenge isn't found in retaliation. It's found in your refusal to become what hurt you. You don't need to stoop to their level to show your strength. You just need to keep climbing. Keep choosing yourself. Keep walking through the discomfort, through the flashbacks, through the nights when everything feels too loud inside. That's the grind no one sees. That's the work people underestimate. And yet, that's the very path that makes you unstoppable. The person you're becoming in this quiet struggle is someone fierce, someone that won't beg to be loved, won't settle for half-truths, won't stay where they're tolerated. That's what rising in power looks like. Not loud victories, but consistent steps taken in silence, with your heart as your compass. Healing in silence is not weakness, it's warfare. You're fighting demons that don't wear faces, wounds that don't bleed, and battles that don't end when the sun comes up. But you keep showing up. You go to work. You smile when you have to. You keep your head high even when your spirit feels low. And the world has no idea what you're carrying. That's the strength people don't clap for, but God sees it. The universe sees it. And that effort, it compounds. One day at a time, one breath at a time. And without realizing it, you start laughing again. Not the fake kind, real laughter. You start sleeping deeper, smiling wider, trusting yourself again. You look in the mirror and say, I didn't think I'd make it here, but I did. That's not just healing, that's power. And the kind of power that's earned in silence, it can't be taken away. They can try to lie about you, dismiss you, pretend you never mattered. But your peace, your growth, that's your revenge. And it will speak for itself. Not in words, not in confrontations, but in your presence, your confidence, your unshakable sense of self. You won't have to say a word, you'll be the word. There comes a day, and it always comes, when the people who hurt you realize you don't talk about them anymore. You don't flinch at their name. You don't wait for apologies or explanations. And that's when they feel the real weight of what they lost. Because silence is louder than screaming. Growth is more painful to watch than revenge. And peace, real peace, it's rare. When you heal in silence and rise in power, you become untouchable. Not because you're cold, but because you're whole. You stop bleeding where they left you. You built something beautiful from the ruins. And when they see you again, they'll have to face the truth. They didn't break you. They refined you. They woke something in you that they never meant to awaken. That's what makes silent healing the most powerful weapon, because by the time they look back, you'll already be gone. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You'll be living a life that doesn't include their memory. And that kind of revenge, that kind of quiet, unstoppable rise, that's not just power. That's legacy. And you, my friend, are just getting started. Use the pain as fuel, not chains. That sentence alone can transform your entire life if you let it. Pain can either become the reason you stop or the reason you rise. It all depends on how you carry it. Most people wear their pain like shackles, dragging it around, letting it weigh them down, believing the lie that because they were hurt, they are now broken. But you're not most people. You're not here to be imprisoned by your past. You're here to rise with it, to burn it as fuel, to look at what tried to break you and say, you gave me power, not paralysis. That's what pain can do. sharpen your vision, toughen your skin, deepen your empathy. It can make you bold enough to chase what scares you and strong enough to keep standing when life wants you crawling. You don't have to deny the hurt. You just have to decide it doesn't get to write your story. Feel it. Own it. But don't stop there. Push forward. Let every scar remind you not of what happened to you, but of what you overcame. That's how warriors are born. Not in comfort, but in fire. Every time life hit you, it wasn't to stop you, it was to shape you. You were never meant to remain the same. Pain was the pressure, the heat, the molding force. It didn't feel good and it wasn't supposed to, but it had purpose. Most people fear pain because it disrupts comfort. But comfort is where dreams go to die. Nothing grows there. The greatest version of you cannot be accessed without discomfort. So when pain shows up, instead of asking, why me, start asking, what is this teaching me? Shift the mindset. If life broke your heart, maybe it was making room for more. If someone betrayed you, maybe it was showing you who never deserved access to your spirit. If you failed, maybe it was redirecting you to something better. Every single time you were crushed, there was a hidden lesson being planted, but you've got to stay still long enough to find it. That's the key. You don't let pain dominate your mind. You don't let it turn you bitter. You let it teach. You let it transform. Then you use that transformation to build a fire so bright, no darkness can put it out again. They underestimated you. They thought the pain would destroy you, but what they didn't realize is that you're not built like everyone else. You've got something different in you. Something unbreakable. The pain didn't crush you, it called something out of you, something primal, something unstoppable. The best part is you don't need to broadcast your growth. You don't have to shout that you're healing. Just live. Just rise. Just become. Let your peace confuse them. Let your discipline speak for itself. Because every time they expected you to fall and you didn't, you grew more dangerous, and not dangerous in a toxic way, dangerous in a powerful way, in a silent, focused, unshakable way. You turned your pain into motivation. You turned heartbreak into boundaries. You turned rock bottom into a foundation. And now you're someone who doesn't break under pressure. You build under it. Let them talk. Let them wonder. You owe no one an explanation for your comeback. Let your life do the talking. Let your consistency be your revenge. You're no longer defined by your past. You're fueled by it. And that kind of power, that kind of growth, it can't be faked. Pain is a messenger. It shows up when something needs to be addressed, when something in your life is no longer sustainable. That heartbreak you went through, that betrayal, that failure, it wasn't random. It was exposure. Exposure of what needed to change, what needed to be left behind, what needed to be confronted. So don't numb it. Don't avoid it. Don't pretend it didn't happen. Feel it fully. Look it in the face, because what you're willing to confront, you can heal. But if you keep ignoring it, you're only giving it more power over your future. You've got to be brave enough to ask yourself, what is this pain trying to show me? Maybe it's asking you to finally walk away. Maybe it's forcing you to grow boundaries. Maybe it's urging you to stop shrinking for people who never clapped when you were winning. Pain is always trying to redirect you to truth. And when you finally start listening, you stop being its victim and start being its student. That's where the shift happens. That's when you rise, not because pain stopped, but because you stopped letting it control you. You started using it as data, and data leads to elevation. Most people let pain make them hard. They build walls, they isolate, they stop trusting. But that's not strength, that's fear wearing armor. True strength is when you can feel the pain, honor it, and still choose to love. Still choose to trust wisely, not blindly. Still choose to show up, not for them, but for yourself. You don't become powerful by pretending you're okay. You become powerful by healing what broke you and then walking boldly, scars and all. That's what people don't get. Healing isn't about erasing the pain. It's about reclaiming the power it tried to steal. You may never forget what happened, but that's okay. You're not supposed to. Scars don't disappear. They remind you of your survival, of your strength, of the storm you made it through. And when you carry that reminder with grace, it becomes a weapon. Not one to hurt others, but one to protect yourself, to choose better, to stand taller, to love deeper, starting with yourself. The goal is not to become numb. The goal is to become wise. Not colder, but clearer. That's what happens when you use pain as fuel. You become unstoppable and untouchable. When you stop asking for closure, that's when you start gaining freedom. Closure doesn't come from other people. It comes from accepting the truth and deciding to move forward anyway. It comes when you stop needing them to understand, to apologize, to explain. You can grieve the unfairness and still rise. You can hurt and still heal. Because healing doesn't require participation from the people who hurt you. It requires honesty with yourself. That's what turns pain into power. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to make sense of it all. You just have to choose not to let it define you. That's where the shift happens. When you start using what was meant to destroy you as a stepping stone. When you walk into rooms with the same people who tried to break you, not with anger, but with peace. That kind of energy can't be faked. It's earned through tears, through silence, through lonely nights and unspoken prayers. That's what makes you powerful. The fact that you're still standing. The fact that your heart is still soft. That your purpose still burns even after everything. You turn pain into clarity and clarity into strength. There is a version of you that's already waiting on the other side of this pain. Stronger, wiser, more disciplined, more compassionate. You don't get to meet that version without going through the fire. That's just the truth. You can't avoid the hurt and still become whole. You've got to walk through it, face it, feel it, and then let it refine you. You're not healing just to forget. You're healing to become, to evolve, to stop repeating cycles that drain you, to start living from a place of power, not fear. It's not about perfection. It's about alignment, about learning how to sit with your own soul and be okay, about knowing who you are, even when everything around you is chaotic. And when you get there, when you truly start living from that place, no one can shake you. No one can guilt you back into old habits. No one can use your pain against you because you've already used it for you. You turned it into wisdom, into drive, into peace. And now you walk with a quiet confidence, not because you've never been hurt, but because you decided to rise anyway. Elevate yourself so high they can't reach you. That's not about arrogance, and it's not about revenge in the way most people think. It's about growth. It's about choosing to rise so far above the drama, the noise, the betrayal that it no longer touches you. They tried to pull you down because they couldn't stand the light in you. They couldn't handle your potential, so they attacked your confidence. They didn't want you to see who you truly were. But the moment you choose to rise, to build, to evolve, you snatch your power back. You stop explaining yourself. You stop fighting battles that don't serve your destiny. You stop seeking validation from those who never clapped when you were winning. When you elevate, you change the game. You're no longer available for their disrespect, their gossip, their projection. You become untouchable, not because you hide, but because you grow beyond reach. That's how you get even, not with bitterness, but with brilliance. Not by stooping to their level, but by soaring to heights they can't even imagine. So keep rising, keep growing, keep building, because nothing terrifies the people who tried to break you more than watching you become everything they said you'd never be. You don't elevate by talking about it, you elevate by moving different, by making decisions that align with your future, not your past, by surrounding yourself with people who speak life, not limit it, by cutting off energy that drains instead of nourishes. They'll notice the shift, they'll feel the distance, and they'll try to call it pride. Let them. You owe no one an explanation for protecting your peace. You don't have to answer calls from chaos just because they once had access to your heart. Growth requires separation. When a rocket launches, not everything goes with it. Some things have to fall away. That's where you are now, breaking out of gravity. And yes, it hurts. It's lonely, but it's necessary. Because the version of you that tolerated disrespect, that accepted breadcrumbs, that played small to be liked, that version can't go where you're going. You've outgrown that room. You've outgrown those relationships. And now you're choosing alignment over attachment, destiny over drama, vision over validation. That's elevation. It's not loud. It's not petty, it's focused, it's disciplined, it's powerful. And once you lock into it, the very people who tried to hold you back will need binoculars just to see where you're standing. There comes a time in your life when you have to stop trying to prove your worth to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. That time is now. Elevation starts with deciding that your energy is too expensive for cheap conversations, that your dreams are too big for small minds. Let them gossip. Let them question your silence. You're not avoiding them, you're investing in yourself. Because when you spend all your time trying to be understood by people who lack the capacity to see your heart, you abandon the mission. You lose momentum, you stay stuck. But not anymore. Now you're choosing to walk in purpose, even if you have to walk alone for a season. You're choosing growth over guilt, because you finally realize that not everyone is meant to go where you're going. Some people were only meant to be a chapter, not your whole story. And when you accept that, you stop begging for closure, you stop shrinking to make others comfortable, you start owning your greatness unapologetically. That's how you elevate, quietly, intentionally, by showing up as your best self, regardless of who claps, by showing them that your glow was never dependent on their approval. Elevation isn't about escaping pain, it's about outgrowing the people and places that keep recycling it. You can't keep watering dead roots and expect to bear fruit. At some point, you've got to say enough is enough, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. When you elevate, you no longer have time to entertain energy that contradicts your purpose. You no longer have space for people who only come around to confuse you. They don't get to disturb your peace just because they're uncomfortable with their own. You're not here to fix people who refuse to grow. You're not here to rescue those who never show up for you. You're here to build, to expand, to walk in power. So when people fall away, let them. When doors close, trust it. When things feel heavy, release them. The higher you go, the lighter you must become. Carry only what aligns with your mission. Anything else is a distraction dressed as loyalty. And you don't have time for that. Because while they're watching your steps, doubting your next move, you're already 3 levels ahead, designing a life that their limited mindset can't even comprehend. That's real elevation. Silent, strategic. Your success is not just about money or status, it's about freedom. Freedom to move without fear. Freedom to speak without shrinking. Freedom to wake up every day and live a life that reflects your values, not someone else's expectations. That's the goal. That's what real elevation looks like. It's not flexing for social media. It's waking up with peace in your spirit. It's knowing who you are when no one's watching. And that kind of peace, that's the revenge they never saw coming. Because they thought they broke you. They thought you'd stay bitter, stay small, stay stuck. But instead you got focused. You got hungry. You started praying different, moving different, thinking different. You replaced complaining with building. You replaced arguments with boundaries. And now your life is the proof. Not just of your resilience, but of your transformation. And that proof speaks louder than any comeback post ever could. So don't worry if they still don't get it. Elevation isn't for them to understand, it's for you to experience. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, every time you choose peace over pettiness, you rise a little higher until one day you're standing in the life you used to dream of, untouched by the noise you left behind. Sometimes elevation looks like silence, like disappearing for a while to rebuild yourself in private, like saying no to the old invitations, the familiar patterns, the tempting distractions. And yes, some people will take it personally. They'll say you've changed, and they'll be right, because you were never meant to stay the same. That version of you that tolerated disrespect, that made excuses for red flags, that kept pouring into people who never pour back, that version had to die for you to live fully. And now you're choosing you. You're choosing healing. And let me tell you, that's a radical act. To prioritize your mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being in a world that constantly demands your exhaustion, that's strength. That's elevation. And it won't always be praised, but it will be worth it. Because while they're still caught in cycles, still seeking attention, still chasing temporary highs, you'll be glowing from within, unshaken, unbothered, unreachable, not because you're better, but because you're healed. And healed people don't entertain chaos. They build peace. They protect it. They embody it. That's your power now. You don't compete. You don't chase. You align. And when you align, everything meant for you flows naturally, without force, without fear. The higher you rise, the quieter your circle becomes. That's not loneliness. That's elevation. Real growth is often misunderstood because it requires separation, not out of hate, but out of necessity. You begin to realize that not every hand you held was helping you climb. Some were pulling you down out of jealousy, insecurity, or fear of being left behind. And when you finally let go, you free yourself to soar. You stop waiting for support from places that never truly saw you. You stop hoping for loyalty from people who never knew how to spell it. You take your power back. You pour that energy into your goals, into your peace, into your future. And suddenly, you're not seeking revenge anymore. You're too busy building a legacy. That's what they can't touch. That's what they can't sabotage. Because once you elevate mentally, spiritually, emotionally, they can't reach you. They'll try to trigger the old you, but the old you is gone, buried under wisdom, strength, and purpose. And when you walk like that, when you carry yourself like someone who's already made it through the storm, you don't have to say a word. Your elevation says it all. And the view from up here is peaceful, it's powerful, it's priceless. Let their absence be the beginning of your becoming, because sometimes the greatest transformation starts with loss. The moment they walked away, the moment they stopped calling, the moment they chose to disappear, it hurt, yes, but it also created space. Space for you to meet yourself, space to breathe again. You were so busy giving, proving, pleasing, loving them that you forgot how to love yourself. You wrapped your identity around people who only knew how to take, and when they left, they didn't just walk away. They ripped something out of you. But what they did know is that the hole they left behind wasn't empty. It was sacred ground. That space became your garden. That silence became your mirror. You started seeing who you really are without them. You began to notice your strength. Your clarity grew in the quiet. And for the first time in a long time, you weren't surviving for anyone, you were becoming for yourself. That's the hidden blessing in their absence. It forced your awakening. It shattered the illusion. It revealed the truth. And that truth is this: you never needed them to become whole. You just needed the courage to face your reflection without their shadow clouding your light. They didn't break you, they released you. And though it didn't feel like freedom at first, that emptiness you were drowning in slowly turned into air. At first, you begged for their return. You replayed the conversations. You questioned your worth. You blamed yourself for things you couldn't control. But the more days passed, the more you realized you were healing. Not perfectly, not all at once, but steadily. You were no longer shrinking to be accepted. You stopped chasing people who made you feel like a burden. Their absence became your teacher. You learned to find peace in solitude. You started trusting your intuition, the same voice you silenced just to keep them close. And when you look back now, it's clear. Their absence wasn't your ending. It was your invitation to rise, to build boundaries, to rediscover joy, to make peace with the parts of yourself you used to hide. That's the becoming. That's the glow they never expected. The one that came not from revenge, not from bitterness, but from rebirth. You didn't lose them. You found you. And that's a journey far more powerful than any apology they could have offered or any closure they could have given. There was a time you thought you couldn't breathe without them, that your days would always feel hollow, your nights always heavy, but slowly, almost silently, you started to rebuild. Not loudly, not to prove a point, just for you. You woke up one morning and didn't check your phone, hoping for their name. You laughed, really laughed, without the weight of wondering if they'd approve. You looked in the mirror and didn't see a person desperate to be seen. You saw someone reclaiming their reflection. That's the becoming. It's not flashy or dramatic, it's quiet, it's subtle, it's sacred. And the beauty is, most won't even see it coming, because the world only notices the loud victories. But your victory is different. It's healing when no one claps. It's staying soft in a world that tried to harden you. It's forgiving yourself for all the times you gave too much. They're gone, yes, but their exit was the doorway to your transformation. You've cried your tears. You've buried the version of you who tolerated what broke your spirit. And now you're walking into rooms with your head held high. Not to impress, but because you finally understand who you are. The ones who left taught you something. Their presence never could. In their absence, you learned self-respect. You discovered the beauty of not settling. You learned that silence can be healing, and that solitude isn't loneliness, it's sanctuary. You realize that your value doesn't diminish because someone failed to see it. And now you're learning to stand without needing someone to lean on. That's strength. You stopped romanticizing people who drained you. You stopped assigning loyalty to those who only gave you pieces of themselves. And with every step forward, you became more grounded in your truth. You became the version of yourself you once thought you needed someone else to bring out. But it was in you all along. Their absence simply cleared the noise, cleared the clutter, made room for growth. They may have left thinking they broke you, but they had no idea they were setting the stage for your greatest rise. And that's the irony of pain. It births power. The very thing meant to shatter you is what shaped you, not just into someone who survived, but someone who now thrives. Your smile now, it's different. It's layered in wisdom. It's earned. And it came the moment you stopped waiting and started becoming. You no longer chase closure from people who were committed to misunderstanding you. You've made peace with not knowing why they changed, why they lied, why they left. Because becoming doesn't require their explanation. It requires your decision. The decision to choose yourself even when it hurts. To pick up the pieces of your broken heart and build something new, something stronger. You learned how to walk away from what felt familiar but unsafe. You stopped arguing with people who only heard what they wanted. That's growth. And not everyone grows with you. Some people love the version of you that's unsure, dependent, and easy to manipulate. But once you wake up, once you start believing in your voice, they call it pride. Let them say what they want. Their absence gave you clarity. Their silence gave you direction. Their departure gave you back your voice. And now, every time you show up for yourself, you honor the pain that once tried to bury you. You're not bitter. You're not angry. You're just free. And that freedom didn't come easy. It came through nights of heartbreak, through prayers that felt unanswered, through rebuilding your self-worth brick by brick. But you did it. You're doing it. And you're not going back. You've stopped giving people second chances who treated your love like a convenience. You no longer explain your worth to those who were never listening. That's not arrogance, it's evolution. You realize that your love, your time, your presence are not things to be begged for. They're sacred gifts. And not everyone deserves access. So now you move different, not to be cold, but to be clear. You don't entertain people who disappeared when you needed them most. You don't reopen doors that disrespect tried to shut. And maybe they'll never realize what they lost. That's okay. You've realized what you gained. You've found yourself. Not the surface version, but the deep-rooted, radiant self. The one who loves deeply but knows when to let go. The one who forgives not to invite people back, but to release the weight they left behind. You're becoming stronger, softer, wiser, freer, and you're no longer waiting for someone to recognize your growth. You see it, you feel it, and it's enough. Because their absence didn't destroy you, it directed you. To your purpose, to your power, to your peace. And you'll never let anyone take that away again. You've come too far. You've healed too much. You've earned this becoming. Every morning you rise now is a declaration. You are no longer who you were when they left. You're no longer doubting your worth, questioning your place, begging for someone to choose you. You've chosen yourself, and that choice is sacred. That choice is strength. You've come to understand that not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay, and not every loss is a curse. Some exits are divine redirections. Some heartbreaks are hidden healings. Their absence was painful, yes, but it was also prophetic. It showed you everything you needed to see about yourself and about them. You no longer ask, why did this happen to me? You now say, thank God it happened for me. You're no longer afraid of being alone because you've discovered the beauty in being with yourself. You are your own sanctuary now. You are your own safe place. You're not waiting to be saved. You're walking like someone already redeemed. And that walk, that quiet, confident stride, that's the result of 1,000 invisible battles you've already won. Let them go. Let them stay gone. Because their absence was never the end of you, it was the spark. the ignition, the beginning of your becoming, and you're just getting started. Don't chase closure, chase destiny, because some answers will never come. And that's okay. Sometimes the door closes without explanation. The conversation ends mid-sentence, and the people you thought would be forever become nothing more than a memory. And you sit there, stuck in the what ifs, replaying the last words, wondering what you could have said or done differently. But the truth is, closure isn't always about getting answers. It's about giving yourself permission to move on without them. It's about realizing that not every story needs an ending to be complete. Some chapters were only meant to teach, not to stay. The pain of not knowing, the ache of unfinished business, it can eat you alive if you let it. But your life is not a courtroom, and you don't need everyone who hurt you to come back and testify before you move forward. You don't need their apology to find peace. Your peace begins when you stop begging for clarity from those who already chose confusion. Your destiny is too big to be delayed by people who were never meant to understand your journey. You weren't meant to stay there, stuck in that moment, waiting on closure. You were meant to rise and keep walking toward what was always yours. You've wasted too many nights writing imaginary letters in your head, too many mornings checking your phone for the apology that never came. You've poured your heart into trying to make sense of their silence, trying to find meaning in their absence. But every time you chase closure, you hand your power back to the very person who shattered you. It waits for you to reclaim your strength, your vision, your purpose. Sometimes the silence is the answer. Sometimes the unanswered question is the freedom. Because what if the people who left were part of the pruning, not the punishment? What if their exit wasn't rejection, it was redirection? You don't need to chase the why. You need to chase what's ahead. That calling in your spirit, that fire in your belly, that's destiny calling. Right behind you. It's not behind you. It's not in their explanation. It's in every step forward. And the sooner you stop needing their approval to heal, the faster you start becoming who you were created to be. Closure is a trap when it keeps you circling the same pain. Destiny is freedom when you finally choose yourself over the apology they'll never give. The truth is, closure is not a destination, it's a decision. A decision to no longer let someone else's absence define your presence. A decision to no longer let the ones who hurt you live rent-free in your mind while you bleed for answers they're not even thinking about. Some people ghost because they don't have the courage to face what they did. Some walk away because they know they can't match your growth. Either way, stop chasing ghosts. Your future can't be built on graveyards. You've got to rise out of the rubble of their exit and realize that what they didn't give you, you now give to yourself. Love, truth, worth. You don't need their goodbye to walk into your new beginning. You don't need their honesty to start living in your own. Destiny won't come knocking if your door is still locked by the pain of unfinished business. You've been waiting for closure, but your future is waiting for action. For you to stop needing their validation, for you to look in the mirror and say, this story is mine now. Let them go. Let the explanation go. You've got things to build, places to go, and a life to live that's far bigger than the pain they left behind. It's time to stop rereading the same page, hoping the ending will change. It won't. And maybe that's a gift. Maybe the unanswered question was meant to close a door you couldn't close on your own. Maybe God removed them before they could ruin what he's building in you. Maybe that silence is divine protection, not abandonment. And maybe you're not broken. You're just in the middle of your becoming. You see, destiny doesn't ask for permission from the people who mishandled you. It doesn't require closure from people who were never committed. You don't need them to circle back. You don't need to prove your worth to anyone who left confused about it. You need to rise in spite of it. That's real healing. That's real power. Not when they come back and say they're sorry, but when you move forward and say, I'm still whole without you. Let your growth be the only closure you need. Let your progress speak where their words fell short. Stop staring at the phone hoping it'll ring with the truth. You already know the truth. If they were meant to be part of your future, they wouldn't have mishandled your heart in the past. Now walk. Destiny is waiting. What's ahead of you is too great to be weighed down by what's behind you. You're carrying memories that were only meant to teach you, not chain you. And yet, so many people are stuck because they're still chasing answers from people who don't even have the capacity to give them. You deserve better than breadcrumb closure. You deserve to stop bleeding emotionally over someone who walked away clean. And yes, it's hard. It's hard to accept that people you loved didn't love you the way you needed. It's hard to move on without the closure you thought you deserved. But healing isn't about fairness. It's about freedom. You don't get stronger by getting the final word. You get stronger by moving in silence, by rebuilding your heart piece by piece without needing anyone to help you. Destiny isn't a reunion, it's a rebirth. The rebirth of your identity, the rebirth of your dreams, the rebirth of your confidence. And every time you pick yourself up and decide to keep going, even without all the answers, you're proving that you're no longer defined by what happened to you. You're defined by what you choose to do next. So choose destiny, choose movement, choose life. You're not meant to beg for peace, you're meant to build it. And sometimes peace comes when you finally stop looking for the why and start creating your how to grow, how to heal, how to thrive, how to turn your pain into purpose. Chasing closure often becomes a distraction from doing the work of becoming. Because as long as you're waiting for someone else to release you, you'll never realize you already had the key. You don't need to sit across the table from someone who broke you to find healing. Sometimes healing is just learning how to sit with yourself and say, I'm okay, I'm enough, I'm free. Stop thinking your story is on pause because they never gave you a proper ending. They're not the author, you are. Take the pen back. Write your next chapter. Write it messy, write it honest, write it bold. But whatever you do, stop handing your healing to people who couldn't even handle your heart. Destiny is calling your name, and it doesn't sound like closure, it sounds like purpose, progress, and power. And the moment you answer that call, everything changes. You don't need permission to begin again. You just need the courage to stop looking back. They might never explain. They might never apologize. They might never understand what they did to you. But you're not here to stay stuck in their silence. You're here to build a future that makes their absence irrelevant. The best thing you can do for yourself is to rise so high that closure no longer matters. Because what's coming is better than anything they could have explained. You were born for more than unanswered texts and unfinished conversation. You were born for impact, for wholeness, for joy. Don't let what they didn't give you stop you from giving your best to the world. Don't let their exit stop your evolution. You're still standing, you're still breathing, you're still here. That means purpose is still alive inside you. That means destiny didn't end with their departure. It's just beginning. So stop waiting, stop wondering. Stop circling old wounds, hoping they'll finally bring you peace. Peace doesn't come from people, it comes from truth. And the truth is, your future doesn't depend on their closure. It depends on your decision to stop looking back and start stepping forward. Chase destiny. That's where your healing is. That's where your breakthrough is. That's where the life you've been praying for begins. Forgiveness is not about letting them off the hook. It's about setting yourself free. It's not saying what they did was okay. It's not pretending you weren't hurt or acting like you've forgotten the nights you cried yourself to sleep. The betrayal that shattered your trust, the pain that left invisible scars. No, forgiveness isn't about them. It's about you choosing to stop carrying the weight of what they did. Because pain turns into poison when you let it linger too long. You keep playing back the offense, the words, the actions, hoping it will change something, but it never does. All it changes is you. It hardens you, locks you up inside your own bitterness, and makes you a prisoner to what they did. But when you forgive, not for their sake, but for your own, you reclaim control. You stop letting the past be the driver of your future. You stop letting their mistake live on in your mind. Forgiveness isn't a weakness, it's power. It's saying, you no longer get to define me. You don't get to occupy space in my spirit. I choose peace over poison. I choose freedom over bitterness. Forgive, not because they deserve it, but because your soul does. Holding on to hate doesn't hurt them, it only hurts you. You think replaying what they did will somehow bring justice, but all it brings is more torment. While they're living their life, moving on, maybe even forgetting what they did, you're still stuck, reliving every detail. That's the trap. Bitterness is a silent thief. It steals your joy in the present by keeping you chained to the past. It shows up in your relationships, in your thoughts, in the way you love and trust. And slowly, without even realizing it, you become guarded, cold, defensive, not because of who you are, but because of what you've refused to release. Forgiveness is not agreement with the offense. It's an act of courage. It's a decision to say, this pain ends with me. It doesn't mean you have to welcome them back into your life. Forgiveness doesn't always equal reconciliation. It means you're choosing to stop bleeding over the same wound. It means you're giving your heart room to breathe again. You're giving your mind permission to rest again. Because you were never meant to carry that anger forever. You were meant to rise above it. You were meant to be free. When you don't forgive, you keep yourself chained to the very people you wish to escape. You become tethered to their choices, their mistakes, their darkness. And every time you feed that unforgiveness, you hand them more power over your life. Forgiveness is cutting that cord. It's severing the emotional tie that keeps your soul in bondage. It's standing up and saying, I refuse to let this define the rest of my life. Some people will never say sorry. Some will never acknowledge the damage they did. That's reality. But your healing doesn't have to wait for their awareness. You can choose freedom without their apology. You can heal without their remorse. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. It's about releasing resentment so that peace can take its place. You may not forget the wound, but you no longer let it control you. You may still feel the scar, but you no longer let it sting. That's the beauty of letting go. That's the power of forgiveness. You're not excusing the pain. They were wrong. But you're choosing to rise anyway, because your destiny is too important to be delayed by a grudge. Your purpose is too big to be held hostage by a memory. You don't forgive because they asked for it. You forgive because you can't afford to live in chains. You forgive because freedom tastes better than revenge. Because peace is more valuable than proving a point. It's not about being naive or letting someone hurt you again. It's about reclaiming your energy. That energy you keep wasting, replaying old conversations, reliving betrayal, rehearsing anger. It's time to take it back. You could be building, creating, growing, healing. But instead, you're letting them rent space in your head. Forgiveness is saying no more. No more sleepless nights over people who couldn't see your worth. No more angry tears over those who chose to hurt you. No more waiting for justice that may never come. You're not here to suffer for someone else's mistake. You're here to thrive in spite of it. That's what forgiveness does. It sets you free to move forward. It releases you from the need to fix what broke you and empowers you to become stronger because of it. Let them carry their own guilt. Let them wrestle with their own conscience. You've got a life to live, and it begins the moment you say, I release you, not for your sake, but for mine. The greatest revenge isn't payback, it's peace. It's waking up one day and realizing you no longer feel the weight of what they did. It's no longer needing them to hurt for you to heal. That's what true freedom looks like. That's what real strength feels like. Forgiveness isn't something you do once. It's something you commit to every day until the pain no longer has power. Every time the memory comes back, you choose to breathe, to release, to rise. And yes, some days it's hard. Some days the anger returns, the sadness resurfaces, the betrayal feels fresh. That's normal. But the more you practice forgiveness, the lighter you become. The more you let go, the more space you make for love, joy, and purpose. You're not doing this for them. You're doing it so your heart can be whole again. You're doing it so your future isn't haunted by your past. You deserve peace, you deserve healing, and no matter what they did, they don't get the final say in who you become. You do. So forgive. Release the burden. Step into the freedom that's been waiting for you all along. Sometimes forgiveness is the loudest declaration of your power. It's saying, you hurt me, but I'm not staying broken. You wronged me, but I'm not giving you my future. That's not weakness. That's warrior strength. Anyone can hold a grudge. Anyone can seek revenge. But it takes real strength to lay it down and walk away with your dignity intact. Forgiveness doesn't mean you weren't wounded. It means you're choosing not to let the wound control your narrative. It means you're refusing to stay in emotional debt, expecting something you may never receive. You're done asking why. You're done begging for understanding. You're done dragging your soul through yesterday's pain. You're not a victim anymore. You're a survivor stepping into victory. And that victory starts when you look at your past and say, you don't own me anymore. The bitterness, the blame, the regret, they don't get to rule your life. Forgiveness is how you take your life back. It's how you make space for what truly matters. You're not here to carry hate. You're here to carry hope. And every time you choose to forgive, you're proving that your peace is more powerful than your pain. You don't heal by holding on. You heal by releasing, by letting go of the weight that's been breaking your spirit. And yes, it's hard. It's hard to forgive when they never said sorry, when they acted like it never happened, when they moved on like your heart didn't break. But holding on doesn't change the past. It just keeps you anchored in it. Forgiveness is the act of faith that says, I'm choosing to be free. It's believing that your future is worth more than your bitterness, that your purpose is bigger than your pain, and that your life is too precious to waste on resentment. You weren't meant to live angry. You weren't designed to be bitter. You were created for peace, for purpose, for growth. So breathe, let go. Not because they earned it, but because you're tired of carrying what doesn't serve you. You're tired of being angry, tired of being weighed down, tired of being stuck. Today, choose yourself. Choose freedom. Choose healing. You don't need their apology to move forward. You don't need justice to feel joy. All you need is the courage to forgive, not for them, but so you can finally be free. In this life, people will hurt you. Some will break your heart and never look back. Others will leave without explanation, without remorse, and without any intention of returning what they stole from your spirit. But you must understand this. Your healing was never in their hands. Your freedom was never tied to their apology, and your power is never lost in their absence. What they did to you may have slowed you down, may have knocked the wind out of your chest, but it did not destroy you. You are still standing. You are still here. And that means you've already won a battle they never saw coming. The best revenge is not to beg for closure, not to fight for explanations, not to sit in silence wondering why. The best revenge is to become the version of yourself they never thought you could be. Not in spite of the pain, but because of it. Use the pain as fuel, not as chains. Let it push you to places you never would have gone without it. Let it teach you, mold you, sharpen you. There's strength inside of you that would have stayed dormant if they hadn't wounded you. There's a power in surviving heartbreak that transforms you forever. Let their absence become the beginning of your becoming. Stop waiting for them to return, to fix, to validate. Start choosing yourself. Start investing in your peace. Your destiny is calling, and it has no space for bitterness, for regret, or for holding on to people who were never meant to walk with you to the end. You don't need revenge. You need purpose. You don't need to be bitter. You need to be better. Forgive them, not for their sake, but for yours. So your mind can rest, so your heart can breathe, so your soul can soar, because you deserve to live free. Elevate yourself so high that they can't even reach your level anymore, not because you're better, but because you finally understand your worth. Stop chasing closure when your destiny is still unfolding. Stop letting what they did define who you become. Let it strengthen your character, not harden your heart. And most of all, stop fighting battles that no longer deserve your energy. You've got too much life ahead of you to keep dragging dead weight behind you. You've got too much purpose to be held back by people who couldn't see your value. So rise. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove to yourself that nothing and no one can keep you from becoming everything you were meant to be. Thank you for listening. May you find peace where pain once lived. May you find strength in the silence they left behind. And may you always remember, you were never broken. You were only being rebuilt for something greater. God bless you, and keep rising.